Hi, everyone. My name is Bridget Richardson. I'm the Assistant Director of Ecumenical and Pastoral Initiatives at the Nesti Center for Faith and Culture at University of St. Thomas in Houston. And I'm here today for a really exciting discussion. Our director, Father Binh. Father Binh, if you could just give a wave.
Hi everyone. Hi Bridges.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy and excited about this dialogue or conversation because I think I just recently, not too long ago, come to know Justin's our artist today, and I think he just not simply an artist, but he has such a deep religious conviction and also a scientific kind of background. So I think it's good for us right now, especially the Center for Faith and Culture focus on the dialogue between faith and culture, religious traditions, and all of the important ideas right now in our society and how we can bring people together to discern what is the truth, what is the good, what is the beauty. And I think beauty is so important in life, and each one of us, we cannot live, we cannot function, we cannot become human if we are not really seeking after the beauty. And the beauty is a part of our life, and everyone wants everything to be beautiful. Aesthetic sense is important. That's why we invite Justin today, and thank you for listening to our dialogue today.
And as Father Binh said, we have artist Justin Garcia with us today. If you like art in Houston, you probably have heard of Justin before. And Justin is a time architect. And what that means is he's influenced by the timeless connection between art and science as studied by Leonardo da Vinci, who is also very timeless in his artistic exploits and scientific study as well. So today we're going to have a discussion with Justin about Holy Water, his latest art installation, if I can use that language. You can correct me, Justin, definitely if that's not correct. But it'll be a conversation on the value of art, spiritual healing in water, and how art can articulate the oneness of humanity. So Justin, I'll just throw it right over to you so that you can share with us a little bit about Holy Water, what it is, what we can expect when we see it.
Yeah, so I'll go back to what time architect is for me. It's my work, my artwork, everything I do, I tie it back to an understanding of time and how we perceive time, how we exist in time, And when I say perceive, I mean, you can't see time directly, much like air. It's the effects it has in objects around us. When a tree moves, we know wind is around, we know air is there. When an aging wall fades, we have this idea and understanding of time. It's been there for a while, the colors over colors. So in that essence, when I'm with my artwork and my science models, just like a Da Vinci does with his both connecting art and science, what seems to be completely opposite, even in that category of religion, they're actually intertwined, interconnected. Everything is connected to everything else when you find it. And for me, that was time. And so when I build my artwork and everything I do, my architectural structures of aging walls, I am reflecting the concepts of time and what it reflects of us. And then this recent installation, Holy Water, was much along the side of that, of finding that one particular object, one thing that unites us all, that connects us all through religion, culture, through age. What is that thing that no matter what language I'm speaking, if I'm using this one element, this one understanding, this one symbol, it can reverberate everywhere and through everything to connect us, and both on a micro level and a macro level. And for me, the Holy Water Project was that. It's this big glowing installation of light, but filled with water, and water is blessed from all the major religions. And it's just this connectedness of what should be, or seemingly on the surface of our society, controversial. When you look at it and it pulls you in, you realize, wow, it's water. It's water we live, we're made out of. Religion uses it in their context of connection, and and what do we have against that? Nothing. It's actually bringing us together on all walks of life. So that was a project that we sought out to investigate further and bring to the public through an art installation, and worked great with Father Ben on the project, which was wonderful, and it just really connected. And that's you know, a lot of the conversations we're having today is like, we've got to keep this conversation, because it just, when we first met, it was it's like, wow, there's something there. There's more dialogue. We really enjoy the deep methodical processes of how we think and how we see things connected. Me coming from the artistic side, him coming from a religious side, and yet spiritually, it's one and the same. And it's like, that's the beauty of, you know, what we're trying to get society to see and to understand, to unite us instead of divide us. And especially in the times of today, that are really relevant. So yeah, it's great.
Justin, thank you for the project that you had on holy water. I think the spelling of that is not Holy, but Hollly. That's correct?
Yeah, Whollly.
W
So it's like,
Hollly, as holistic kind of involving not simply the body, but it's or the material things, but involve the mind, the heart, and the spirit together. You know, and I think that I was really blessed to be invited to be one of the participants from the Christian tradition to join this kind of blessing of the holy water. Holy water, that means the water, the symbol of life, the symbol of spiritual transformation, and that's actually bring about the changing of our own minds, our own hearts, our own lifestyle. Actually, I have to share, you know, and later on, if you get a chance to see the whole video of that, and you know, I was a part of it, and I was really affected by this kind of project, because when the camera, the artist, selected me to be a priest from the Catholic tradition to be able to bless the water, and I used the San Francis Assisi kind of the canticle of creation to bless the water. Acknowledge water is just part of the whole humanity, you know. Joining together, searching for the truth, the good, and the beauty. And you know, when the artist angle and give the focus on my face and with the water, I discover myself in a unique way, you know. Again, the whole project is really challenging me to go back to my old true self, you know. How often I've been a priest for almost like 30 years now, and working as missionary in Asia and interacting with different religious traditions. But somehow, you know, I have been putting on so many masks, and I lost that my true self. And when I involved in when I look at the video, I look at the picture, the camera, how they focus on me, I discovered that I have been moving away from my true self. And exactly what you talked about, the holistic rediscovery of the true self. I mean, art, just like an artist like you, who really are able to transcend just the material, medium, you know, and to be able to use the medium of water and to link us to something which is much more holistic, much more divine, you know, and it brings us to a deep sense of what you use the word interconnectedness of all religious traditions, of all of human experiences, and help us to have that religious encounter with with the source of life within oneself and within others. And can you share with me a little bit more what inspired you to this whole project? We call Holy Water, Whollly, and then how you use water as a means to bring us together to dialogue and to become connected with one another as, you know, brothers and sisters, searching for the true, the good, and the beauty that would bring us all together.
Well, yeah, the holy waters, yeah, with the WHOLLY was, it goes up to being whole again, right? Finding that wholesomeness with all the parts of love. When our well's empty, how do we fill that well within ourselves? How do we gain back the power within ourselves? And water was that one element that can unite us and give us that strength in not letting the exterior world define us. We have the control over that. Instead of giving it to the exterior world to define us, we're taking back that control through something that is on all levels and all purpose, is essential to us. Water, our livelihood, the reflection of ourselves, just like the holy water that you were talking about, looking at, giving us an identity, giving us our reflection to see our evolution. Water's so significant, and so that was, finding that key element like water was the tricky part. But a lot of credit to the Wonder Group, who, it's very difficult, especially for me, when I have an idea and a whole philosophy and background with elements like science and art. It can be a lot to swallow for anybody, a marketing group or anybody working with me. And we had meetings, and they got this idea, and they facilitated and brought it, like, what if we do this with, as they saw me as an artist, they're like, you have so much depth, there's so much purpose and meaning, and whatever project we want to do, it's got to be at a level of a high level and high purpose. And so the Holy Water project evolved from that, both with my background and a team like Wonder being able to pick out, like, okay, this is, if we're going to do something, this is what it needs to be at this level. I mean, they're wonderful dissecting, me and pulling that out. So that's where the project really developed. And it was actually late January, mid-January. And then the whole COVID happened, and it was this timely, perfect time, I would say, for a message that's so wholesome and so well-rounded and so well needed now, and we almost didn't continue with doing the film and doing because everything was just, falling apart in the world. And we all kind of had a meeting and was like, no, this needs to be done. This is so pertinent for right now. It was something that's connecting us. And so that's how it really developed in the beginning. Serendipitous, two synergetic groups of people coming together for a common thriving for purpose and thriving for putting something out there that's more than just, a materialistic piece of art or, this or marketing. It's what people are craving, to be connected and to have purpose beyond themselves, defining themselves and beyond themselves to be a part of something bigger. And I really believe religion and the conversations in that's where we can really dive deep and do that. And that's kind of how it all started from the beginning. But the water aspect of it was just, for me, art, and the way I like to go about things is, how do you take something so simplistic and to describe something so complex, right? When I do my aging walls, I'm painting what looks like an identical building from an old cultural wall or whatnot, aging wall. That's the aesthetic. That is the object I'm creating. But it's important, but it's only the doorway to get you to ask why about something much more complex, like time. What is time? What is time measured chronologically? What is it theoretically? What is it to us? What is it reflecting? Water falls in that same element. It is so simple, we overlook it, right? But really, what's the complexity of it? How layers of it touch all of us on so many different levels. And when you want to communicate something, especially at the times like now, how can we use something to unite us all? But it's very simple. That you can't argue. It's like water. How can I argue against something like water when it's connecting us? So really, that was the key factor, is what we're using, the symbol of what we're using to reach out to those, to connect, to send a beacon, if you will, that can be heard, and it triggers people differently. But the wavelength of it is still the same, and it brings you back to a core understanding of not only yourself but of humanity as a whole and how we're interlinked. And so yeah.
Yeah, Justin, you just say something is so important. I think really very countercultural. You know, right now we live in a society which become more and more complicated. The complexity of life is just confusing. You know, you look at all of the thing that's going on now, even on our internet. You know, so many data information. We have such a big data, you know, and sometimes we don't know how to uh, uh, dissect all of this data and to try to find the focal point and the focus. And I think, you know, you are really doing something really very countercultural. You give us the focus. You select a very simple symbol, which is water. And into that water, and you are dialogue with your partners, with basically the wonder groups, you know, the three of them. I mean, it's just incredible artistic people, and also they have that kind of desire for purpose, meanings, and then trying to use the gifts and skill to collaborate with you, and then to be guided by you to be able to bring a deeper meaning to the symbol of water that you're using, and to make it become so inclusive. Inclusive enough that they can integrate all of the religious traditions together, and also connect with every one of us. It doesn't matter what path of life we are, you know, whether we or the ethnic groups or the cultural background, or social political backgrounds, all of us. I mean, look at the water symbol. It can purify us. In the positive sense, it purifies us, it transforms us, give us new life. But also it can be destructive when we have the flood, you know. It just can be very powerful. It is how we know how to focus and how to use the US in such a way that it's really become an instrument of transformation for me. And I think I just love the way that you're doing it. I just want you to focus on something just help us understand. You know, right now, just recently, I have a dialogue with preachers, you know, regarding the problem, the root cause of the anxiety, the tension in our society right now is because of the 3Ds. The first one is distractions. There's so much distractions everywhere, so many data information, and then if we don't have a critical mind, a capacity to discern, we will not be able to select the simple thing that we unite even our heart, our mind, spirit together, and then connect us with others. And the second thing is second D is deception. How can we really know which is truthful or which is untruthful, or even a lie, you know? And there's so many lies in the way people are sharing information. Even put the information in the internet is very hard. And then the third D was because of the distractions, the deceptions, the problem getting bigger. I just watched a video on Social Dilemma, the documentary film. And when these great people who invented Google, Facebook, and all of the Instagram and everything on the internet, they got so much concern because now the business model are using all of these data to manipulate, to control our own behaviors, to make us become a means whereby they get rich. Yeah? So we become victimized by our own technologies. So all of these things happening, it just make me feel so encouraged. And you're giving us a way to be out of that. And I think how to dialogue on love, on truthfulness, and also a dialogue of conversion, of changing of our mind, our hearts, and our lifestyle. Can you just go a little bit deeper and explain to you what's motivated you, inspire you to using this as a mean whereby to bring us together and make us whole and heal us. There's a need for healing here, a need for transformation, a need for changing of our minds, our heart, and our lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes a lot back to when you were looking at the water during the film, and it brought you back to an earlier self. It brought you back to a grounding level of looking back at yourself when you feel like you've gotten lost for a while. That's the same thing as finding that core of water. What it is, when we find a foundation that's true to ourselves, and we know it's true, and we can own it, then the outside nature of social media, all this deception, all this smoke and mirrors that have deceived us and believing those are the foundations in which we build our lives and society. And we realize it's just keeping us so busy and so, going and complacent and running around. We're never really growing, and we're never really owning our own power for that. But with things like these concepts of water that are very simple, very core to all of our beliefs, all of our culture, can be understood on every level, it cuts through all of that. And it brings you down to a foundation that you can truly own, and it empowers you. And as an artist and as a creative, that is our nature, to find the depths and the core of our humanity, so the humanity can collectively climb from and own it for themselves, not something that we are using to deceive them, in which we take the control, but where they can find their own connectedness for themselves and not be alone, but it's a part of our whole society, our whole humanity, our being and our evolution. So elements like water, elements that are timeless, like time, those things are core to us, whether I'm here or not. I'm just resonating that language to bring people back to that, wherever they find their faith, their culture, their life, where they live, doesn't matter. That is something that they can own anywhere. And I truly believe that's what an artist is supposed to do. And the way that we get people to find that, in my opinion, is you have to get people curious. You have to feel the curiosity to ask a question, ask why. When you ask why, it is an infinite amount of exploration. How, I love how, because we find how things are made, but how gets us to a point. Getting people to ask why about everything around them gets them to question it, gets them to find, whether they realize it consciously or unconsciously, their mind is solving these issues and these problems. They know there's something wrong. Well, the only way you're going to find it further is by investigating more. I'm, as an artist, just there to help push that along. Whatever my art says, whether you hate it or love it, you start questioning, why do I hate this? What is it? Or why do I love this? What is it about this abstract piece, or about this, picture of this animal, or this time of life? Whatever it is, your mind starts dissecting it like ones and zeros in a computer to figure out those fundamental elements that are speaking to you. That's the spiritual nature. That's the beyond the surface, beyond the tangible object, and lies the intangible idea. That's what's being provoked, and really lasts forever. So those are the natures of things that I feel that are most important. To get past all this diversion and all the devastation and destruction, you let people own the love and the compassion. You let them have the choice of choosing that as what feeds them instead of the other way, by presenting them things that are holy, like giving them a sense of comfort and peace. And once you give that to society, they begin to expect it. And like supply and demand in any economy, when you supply something enough, they start demanding it. Well, what are we supplying the world with? Destruction, deceit, devastation, materialistics. But if we start slowly integrating, even if they don't realize it subliminally, the ideas of wholeness, connection with elements that they don't even see right away. They don't fight against. They're like, oh, water. And then slowly integrate it with things that you may think that are controversial, that they're so used to, like religions coming together to bless the same water. And when they go to this conflict that they normally expect, and yet they find nothing but peace and love and connection, they start looking, their mind starts mapping things differently, into a positive direction. Then we stop destruction and we start building. We start putting our attention and thought towards the artists, the creators, the spiritual nature of life that are actually healthy for us, healing us, and so holy water really has just, it was just about provoking that question and bringing them to a sense of solace, which is water, and what that does for us. And you start asking, why does this feel so good? Well, then our mind explores the why.
Yeah.
Then they start connecting it with their life and why water means so much to them. Why I normally think I would be so much in conflict with this, but yet it feels okay. Like, this is good. And those are the rewards that an artist, I love to leave to the viewer when they ask why, is looking under 1,000 rocks, and in that one rock they find something that is just marvelous, that they just gives them life, gives them purpose, and that's what I had to find for myself, was that nature of investigation. And I think it's so important that we look at all the creators, all the spiritual leaders, from the Da Vinci's, from just poets, their true nature was just being curious and investigating further, having that fuel to go deeper, to ask those questions. And we come with the great understanding of things like gravity, from questioning an apple falling, right? Like, that is the nature of us evolving. That's the nature of what we want to do for society, is evolve for the betterment of ourselves. And it will always be a constant battle, but it's one that deep down we all have, and you just feel that nature. And I'm on that battlefront, and I believe you are too, Father Ben. That's why we connected so much, is because it's such an uphill battle, but it's worth giving and sacrificing life to make it our purpose. And that's I couldn't have any more honor than to do something that with my life and purpose wise. So yeah.
Justin, I just want to encourage all the people to see the video Holy Water, because I think, Justin, you really, in the collaborations with the group, the team called the Wonder, I think you have done something which I see like Michelangelo. The first time when I was in Italy years ago, I've been maybe 28 years ago, I was in Florence. When I first encountered the statue of David, for me, it's so beautiful, so precise, so perfect. But I didn't like it as much as I like the prisoners, the much more mature pieces that Michelangelo did. When he just say that he just removed pieces of rocks and to expose the figures inside, to let them be free, And I think that there is something in you, something in your work of art, which is really connect us to the mystery. I like what you just said. You are not going to explain everything. You just give us an opportunity to be connected and to be able, in and through the encounter with Holy Water, the video, you be able to raise some question regarding to your life. So the beholder or the participant will begin to connect with that, and allow the mystery itself to bring to a deeper level of awareness of who they are. Also, all of the messiness, all of the confusions, all of the distortions, and now they need to learn, just like Michelangelo say, you just remove pieces of rocks, which basically imprison us, so that we can become free. And when we discover, just like I did, discover my true self, which is really who I was, who I has been, but I just forgot because I got so busy trying to solve the problems. I remember Gabriel Marcel, a famous existentialist, the French. He say life is not a problem to be solved, but life is the mystery to be lived. And I think
Mm,
that's one of the things is so important, that is we have to be able to respect the mystery. And nowadays with new understanding of the unconsciousness, what we are aware, what we are conscious is only maybe uh, less than 10% of the reality of life. So I mean, it's more like 90 or 90 plus. Is really
mhm,
on the level of unconsciousness, and unconsciousness is really moving us ahead. But sometimes we use our head to limit it, to, re, to define ourselves, and then try to control ourselves. But I think the
mhm.
human spirit is searching for something more, and that's what artists like you are doing, and try to open up and set us free, so be able to have a deep appreciation and respect for the beauty of creation. Or in a way you can say that you help us to awakening in us the awe of life, of nature, and only into that awakening of the awe, that's then we can begin to find the meaning, at least participate in the journey toward that meaning. And I like what you say, mapping, at the Purim, you have to move one step at a time, and you never know, a lot of things just happen and may just slip
Mhm.
and change your direction. And you cannot just sit at home and plan your whole trip, and you want everything just follow according to your plan. And that's life, is that kind of a journey is boring for me. So we have to allow the unconsciousness, or the divine reality working in our unconsciousness, communicate to us, and into a very limited and simplistic kind of medium, like what you use, the water, to connect us with something greater than ourselves, greater than all traditions, greater than humanity. And that's make us become so humble, And I think, only when we have that humility, uh, that willingness to be open to dialogue. And that dialogue, sometimes we think the dialogue with others, but dialogue with oneself is is a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging than anything else. Until when we make ourselves into a subject of dialogue, then we will not be able to enter into that dialogue with others. And thanks so much,
Right.
you want to say some more? Because I think,
Yeah.
I mean, this one dialogue cannot really
Yeah.
unpack a lot of things. That's what you did. And I think, you have so
Oh,
much gifts. And actually,
thank
I
you.
think
Thank you.
there is the humility, there is a search, a thirst for knowledge, for truthfulness, and for the unfolding of the mystery of life in you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, wow. Uh, I agree. I mean, I'll just say this, we get lost so easily, right? We get so much distraction. You know, we need those key things when we slow down that can easily trigger back to ourselves again. And water is one of those easy things, simple things to understand. And when we get lost and we need to find ourselves again, we need to reconnect. It's these simple concepts that help us slow down, reconnect with ourselves, ground ourselves as something that we have control and power over, which is within ourselves and not all these external things. And having these key symbols, these key concepts, words, or thoughts like that helps us bring us back to center. We don't lose sight of that. That's the light at the end of the tunnel, that no matter how faint it is, we know it's there and we can trust it. And when you are able to build a foundation of trust onto these elements and know that there you can not only find yourself when you're lost and alone, but you are connected to humanity even more so. And
Mm.
when you can trust that nature, then it leads the power of not trying to control everybody in the right direction, but giving them the power of knowing the right direction and the choice of going that way, and trusting that that's the nature of humanity. And so yeah, that's I think the ode of an artist in the bigger scheme of things. But for this particular project, Holy Water, and the simplicity of it was really the true essence when you break it down to everything. It's that simple. And in that lies the beauty.
Yes. Isn't that the truth? We all are being alienated, away from, the true self and the
Mm-hmm.
source of life. And sometimes, the divine, doesn't matter what you call the divine, is always trying to break in to communicate to us in and to
Oh yeah.
different mediums, your own experience, your pains, your sufferings, or your disappointments, your failures in life, and all of these things, especially in and through artists, I think sometimes, I get lost when I go to see those statue of prisoners, in Florence, I just love to sit there and I begin to engage in the process of collaborating with Michelangelo to try to see how I'm going to, which part of the rock that I need to remove so that I identify that prisoner with myself, what is
Yeah.
really, what rock, what piece of rock that really imprisoned me now, and I think, that's what I think what you are doing, someone like you. I would love you to be able to engage more with us in the future, so that in and through your,
I would love to.
how to say that, the sensitivity that you have toward the unconsciousness or the collective unconsciousness, you use the art, this kind of aesthetic medium, to connect us with something which we ourselves are not able to do, because sometimes we are so rational, so intellectual, we get stuck with the data, being controlled by the intellectual concept, or rationality, or sometimes we just, like what you said at the beginning, be defined by all of the things that happen in life, that sometimes we just launch that capacity to become so sensitive to the voice of the divine speaking in and through all of the experiences of our life. Thank you so much. And I think we have enough time now for this initial dialogue, but I would love to have
Yeah.
continue more. And then I think people will learn a lot from you. I think in and through you, I feel connected with the divine, and
Same.
also you helped me, yeah, in and through that project, Holy Water, to discover that part of me. I still have that image on my screen now every day to look at it and say, this is me, I cannot allow all of the things that happen in my life, even my works and my task, to alienate myself from that true self. I have to allow it to be fully alive. Thanks so much for that, and I
Yeah.
hope that everyone encountered that. I just ask the people not to make any judgment. You sometimes it's good to empty all of intellectual concepts or ideas, and to allow the images and the symbol itself to engage with you in the dialogue with yourself. And I think that's the only way that that work of art can really uh, help us to become connected with ourselves, with our life, and with others.
I agree. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to more conversations and dialogue, science, and there's so many great concepts and things that we've been talking about that we'll have
Yeah.
to save for the next conversation, Father Ben.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes,
Bridges.
thank you, Justin and Father Ben. And, Justin, some of the things about curiosity and questioning and always asking the why, that's definitely some takeaways that all of us can just ponder. And we're excited to share the link for Holy Water, the video. So we'll definitely make sure that people can see that as well. So thank you
That'd
so
be
much for
amazing.
sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you all for
Thank
inviting me. It's such a pleasure. I mean, it's been amazing to have these conversations. It's, yeah, I mean, we can go on for hours, but
Yeah.
yeah.